So in the room today, we have Fraser Polk. Hi, Fraser. Thanks for joining us today. Fraser is our lecturer and leader, Entrepreneurship Innovation Group. And Fraser will be talking about the two tracks today, which are innovation and entrepreneurship, technology and analytics leadership. And in the room today as well are myself and Patricia. We both are leading the sessions or programs, the PMBA and full-time MBA. So if you have any questions, feel free to send us an email as well to mba@sauder.ubc.ca. In addition to us, so we have our colleague here, Maya. Maya Bird is our marketing specialist here to support us along the session. So if you have any technical issues or anything, and then she'll be posting some links in the chat as well for our upcoming events. So in today's session, I will take about 10 minutes to do a program overview, just give you some ideas of what the full-time MBA looks like. And I'll pass it to Fraser to talk about the two tracks. So after each track, Fraser will be opening a Q&A session for you to ask the questions. We'll be here to answer any questions that you have about missions and the programs. Why UBC Sauder? And I'm sure you have a different, obviously, goal and purpose to choose UBC Sauder, but I do want to mention here that Sauder's global ranking remains robust. So we are ranked number 1 business program in Canada, and we are also ranked 38 in QS in 2025 this year. We have over 49,000 alumni, over 98 countries. So we have a very large business network support. UBC is also a very diverse university where we welcome students from over the world. We also run international MBA program, which is short for IMBA, in Shanghai with Shanghai Jiao Tong University, which is one of the top universities in China. So Vancouver. Now, I'm sure some of you probably calling in from Vancouver and some of you calling in over the world may not have a chance to visit Vancouver yet. So Vancouver is nested between Pacific Ocean and the coastal mountains. It is known for stunning nature beauty, vibrant culture, and diverse communities. We also have a very mild climate. We do have a week of snow here and there, but normally we have a pretty mild weather compared to other places in Canada. We also have a lot of outdoor activities. If you're an outdoor person, you can hike the mountain, and we also have a lot of attractions like Stanley Park, Granville Island, and also UBC. So Vancouver also, you may not know this, also referred as Hollywood North, and has been filming location for many, many movies. So some movies including Mission Impossible, Star Trek, Man of Steel, the list goes on and on. So if you are walking around Vancouver or even UBC, you may bump some movie stars in those locations. And as I mentioned, that Vancouver has a mild winter, but we also have a very good ski resort that is only 2 hours away from Vancouver. So if you love to ski and you love the winter, you like to see snow, you can just get away from Vancouver for about, drive away for 2 hours and you get to this very world reputable ski resort called Whistler. And we also have a very good collection of global companies and local companies as well, as you can see on the screen. Lululemon, as our home-based company here, is founded here in Vancouver. And sometimes we do invite Lululemon come to connect with the student, especially full-time MBA student, on case competitions. So full-time MBA program, you will be here for about 16 months. It starts typically in September, but you will be here for the last week of August. That's opening week for you to get to know your peers, your classmates, or staff, or wonderful professors here, and also for you to get to know Vancouver a little bit better. So if you're coming from overseas, we do recommend you arrive at least a month before the program starts, so you can have some time to settle in explore UBC campus. We have a very large campus. We have 40,000 people on campus. So it takes some time to really get to know campus well. And you also can enjoy Vancouver's best weather during the summer. So in September, we'll start with foundation courses in the general management. As you progress through those courses, you will engage in integrated case learning, a core method used throughout the program. Your first full semester ends with the local consulting projects, and typically it's called case competition, providing a strategic opportunity for you to build your resume. And this will take you to the Christmas break. So after the holiday break, you will begin your career tracks, which Fraser will talk about in a sec. There are 5 designated career tracks, each with a different focus, plus a custom track where you can mix and match courses from different tracks. We'll dive into those tracks in the next couple of slides in the presentation. And in February and March, you will undertake an international consulting project and the GIE, which stands for Global Immersion Experience. The Global Consulting Project starts shortly after the Christmas break, so you will spend about 6 weeks preparing before traveling abroad. And in that 6 weeks, you will have a consultation, you will have a lot of phone calls and Zoom meetings with leadership from those companies. You will be working with and presenting to them on site eventually. So you will have the opportunity to meet those people in the particular location of your choice during the GIE journey, the Global Immersion Experience journey, and you will finally present your solutions to those people in the company. And the project offers a unique opportunity to build your resume with both local and international consulting experience, providing you a global business perspective. So period 1 and 2, usually you can see on this screen, is September to January. You'll complete the foundation and modules, including accounting, economics, marketing, as well as practical classes such as leadership development and decision-making for managers. All right, so let's move to the next one. So as you can see, the career tracks, we have 5 different career tracks. In August, we had the career sessions with Glenn, who's a track champion for finance track. And then we have Justin Bull, who is a career champion for the climate track. And today we'll be talking about the innovation entrepreneurship and technology and analytics leadership track with Fraser. So those tracks offer different courses, as you can see on this page, but I'm sure Fraser will dive into with more details and insights of those 2 tracks today. About the GIE, so Global Immersion Experience, you can see that there are students went to 3 different locations. Those amazing locations provide opportunities for students to really fully immerse themselves into those international destinations, as well as have opportunities to see in the classroom, in some of the universities in those locations, and also consulting project. So our student went to Chile, Cape Town, and Singapore in the 2024 GIE. Typically, you can choose the location. So the location will be announced in October. You will have the opportunity to prioritize the locations in your for your preference. However, we have to see how many people choose each location. We'll try our best to match your priority location, but sometimes, if there's too many people choose one location, we may have to do a lucky draw. So summer experience, as you can see that during your journey, in the summer, you will have about 4 months, which you can choose out of the 3 here as your options. So one's the internship, and second one's entrepreneurial project, and the last one, industry project. So the majority of the class will choose the internship. It will be paid internship. You will have an opportunity to do as little as 8 weeks or 4 months, depending on what your preference is and what your job opportunity will be. You will receive a lot of postings from our Business Career Center along the way. and make sure you apply those positions as early as possible. And it's also really, really important to connect with our Business Career Center, especially our career strategists for the full-time MBA program on a regular basis, so they can know your career goal well and they can point out to you with some of the postings of your choice or your interest, as well as connect you with some alumni in those industries. For entrepreneurial project, I'm sure Fraser can talk a little bit more about that as well. And basically, you have an opportunity to launch your business into the real world using the 4 months of the summer. You can do this solely by yourself, or you can actually partner with your classmates on those projects. Now, for industry projects, it's a little bit different than those two, is that you are able to work on a research paper in the topic of your choice with one of the professors here at Sauder. So it's your, you have to make sure that you connect with those professors ahead of time and also connect with the Business Career Center to see if this is the right path for you. Again, for internship, minimum 8 weeks with the local, national, and international companies paid income for you, and with the business support, BCC support. And also you can reach out to the alumni to see if they have any opportunities for you as well. GNAM is a global network of events management. So this is an opportunity for you to really sit in the class of world well-known schools, including Yale. So Yale is spearheaded this network, and about 32, I believe, for now, as part of the network. And then UBC is the only Canadian school is in this network. So you can see at least all the schools on the website. It's your choice to choose the school, but it's also important to connect with your global manager earlier on to let her know which school that you're interested in, so you can choose ahead of time. There are only limited spots available for each school, and also each school has a different topic, so make sure that you understand what your choices are, and you can connect with the global managers to make your final decision. You also have opportunities to do exchange program, and that's typically happening in the last fall, and it's about half of the semester or the full semester. You can change one of the 34 partner schools with UBC across the world. We'll share the link in the second so you can see those schools' name on the website. This is not a performance-based choice. So if you are interested in a particular school on the website, again, it's also very important to connect with the global manager in the spring, so you can start your application for those exchange schools. Our students actually choose a lot of different schools in the past, and I know last year they're actually almost half the class did their exchange in France and Spain. All right, so scholarships and awards. We have a lot of scholarships available. It's still early in the cycle. It's really important to submit your application early, so you will be considered for all the scholarships. We have the range from 10,000 to 60,000. 60,000 typically is for international applicants. For domestic applicants, we do have a full ride scholarship as well for international applicants for full ride scholarship. Last year, we awarded one student with full ride scholarships, and we're happy to have them here for this cohort. And admissions requirement, quickly, I know I'm running out of time, but quickly about the admissions requirement. We have this on the website as well. So make sure you provide all the information. I just want to mention one thing, is that you need to provide 2 professional reference letters. We don't need any reference letter from your professor unless your work is based in the academic setting and you're in the research professional industry that you need to work with the professors on the regular basis. And that is okay for them to provide you a reference letter. Otherwise, we needed 2 professional reference letters, preferably from your current company and supervisors. We also offer GMAT waivers. So if you're interested in those, please make sure that you follow the criteria on the website. You can apply using our statement qualification form on the website. So please make sure to use that as part of your application. It's a very straightforward form. So once you open the form, you will see what you need to put in on the form. Application deadlines. It's coming up. First application deadline is October 15th. Reach out to us for advising sessions and join our events online or in person. We'll be in different locations this fall. So make sure to join those fairs and ask questions. I'm sure you have a lot of questions today, so feel free to type in the chat box. I'm happy to answer those questions. We also have a second application deadline, January 10th. March 11th, our final international application deadline. And May 6th, our final application deadline for domestic applicants. So any questions, please make sure to write to us, mba@ubc, sauder.ubc.ca, and to me, tina.hu@sauder.ubc.ca, as well, patricia.wan@sauder.ubc.ca. So I'll stop sharing and pass it to Fraser to talk about those two tracks.
Thank you very much. So hello, everybody, and welcome. Thanks for joining today. As mentioned, we're going to talk about the entrepreneurship track as well as the technology and analytics leadership. And so what I'm going to go through first, I'm going to go through the innovation and entrepreneurship track. To get us started, we'll pause for some questions. We'll talk about that particular track, and then we'll move into the technology and analytics track. So let me start by sharing my screen. So I've got it up here, and I've got some slides that I'll run through to give you an overview of what to expect in this track, and maybe why you've joined us today is maybe you're already considering entrepreneurship. Maybe you are doing something in this space, or maybe you're thinking about trying something. And I think the program we've got set up is excellent for that. So some of the reasons why, I'm a huge advocate of entrepreneurship, past entrepreneur myself, and now I sit on advisory boards for startups. I work with a lot of researchers here at the university to bring their inventions to market. And then I also like to expose students to that in the classroom. It's all about changing the future, in my opinion. I think that we're in a rapidly changing world. As you know, things are always being introduced to us, and things are always being changed. We've seen some of these major global shifts in terms of technology adoption, and it's the result of entrepreneurs. And so I just want to say that it's a great stepping stone, doing the MBA to think about entrepreneurship. Some of the startups that we have here at the University of British Columbia that have gone on to become successes, some of these research-based projects having to do in automation, so automated farming. I myself haven't invested in that particular startup, and so it's been a very fun ride. We also have 3D printing of human tissue. And so this is a huge company here in Vancouver that is also sort of set a really keystone company in terms of life sciences here in Vancouver. And so a spin out of UBC that does a lot of hiring, 3D printing bio tissue. So imagine if you need a new kidney and you don't want to wait for perhaps somebody else to pass on and donate the kidney to you. Well, using your own DNA, you can have your own kidney printed. So these are some remarkable things that are happening. And of course, we've got generative AI. I think we're all used to this today and using it. I actively use it. I think it's a tremendous tool that we can do. And a lot of really exciting research is happening here at UBC with generative AI. And then as we think about the future, Elon Musk is really championing maybe moving to Mars. It's not for me, but one of these technology areas really is in space exploration. And so we work with students who are excited about this as well. Reasons why you would want to think about entrepreneurship, and a lot of this resonates with me and why I was an entrepreneur as well. You get to be your own boss. You get to bring new ideas to life, solve problems, make a real impact, I think is important. You think about the world differently, and so you see those financial rewards in a different light. It's risky, but it's a ton of fun, and the rewards can be much more exponential. I mean, if you look at the Forbes list of the wealthiest people, 9 out of 10 of them are entrepreneurs. Personal growth, social impact, I think, is another really strong reason, is just wanting to make a change. Instead of just being a cog in the wheel, working in someone else's dream is you get to bring your own dream forward. I think that entrepreneurship, you get to put on every hat. You need to learn how to hire. You need to learn how to fire. You need to learn how to raise money. You need to learn how to manage a team and execute. There are so many different things to do. The job never gets boring, and you're always having to put on different hats. Of course, as soon as you are the founder of a company, you now speak to other founders. You get to network CEO to CEO, and you get to meet mentors and investors. And Vancouver has a phenomenal community. We are going to be hosting Web Summit coming up this May. And so this is a version of Collision that happens in North America and will be hosted in Vancouver coming up. So again, about 40 or 50,000 people flooding into Vancouver into the entrepreneurship scene. And of course, flexibility. You know, it's not your typical 9 to 5. Some days are 9 to 9, but some other days you can take off and hit the slopes. It really is around a work-life balance, in my opinion. Of course, the conversation can be like, do I need an education to be an entrepreneur? Can entrepreneurship really be taught? And I think absolutely. I think there's a ton of skills that we can get you to practice, ton of things that we can get you to learn in the classroom setting so that you can apply it, particularly around ambiguity. A lot of the case studies I do, a lot of the real world scenarios that I'll throw at you, have a ton of ambiguity. I mean, there's a million things we could recommend. And so how do we look at this incomplete data and make decisions, and make quick decisions? Because we cannot afford as entrepreneurs to sit around. So I think that designing and running experiments is also something that we champion here at UBC. And so can we test the market and find market validation before we go out and raise millions of dollars and spend millions of dollars? So let's get that market validation in a cheap, lean, effective manner. We see a lot of different careers in this track. I'll be honest, not everybody wants to be the entrepreneur. They think, wow, that's perhaps a scary idea. And so we say, great, you know what? We're going to be supporting innovators. We're going to be supporting people who are thinking entrepreneurially, who want to start their own business. But you know what? Working in a startup, joining an early stage company is a great place for innovators to lie. Again, it never gets boring. It's a ton of fun. You have to put on many different hats. And then, of course, earning equity in startups can be quite valuable. I have one of my colleagues who's an early employee here in Vancouver at Slack, and he earned stock options as well. After working there for about 6 years, his stock options were worth much more than the combined salary that he made over those 6 years. So joining a startup can be a quite lucrative and great opportunity. And then we also like to think that corporate innovators, people who work in large organizations, you will learn the skills as part of the innovation and entrepreneurship track to join those large companies, but help bring new products to market, help find new markets for existing products. I've got a couple stories here of some prior students. So we have one class called Tech Entrepreneurship that you would do in P3, which would be in January. You come together, we bring PhD students, master's students from across the university. We combine them with MBA students to create startups. This is our flagship course when it comes to the entrepreneurship track. And one of the startups that we had come out was this company called Recon Instruments, which ended up selling to Intel for over $100 million. Now, those were MBA founders that came out of this class. And what did they end up going and do after they sold? Well, Fraser Hall and Dan Eisenhart both started a venture capital company, and Fraser Hall continues to lead that venture capital company here in Vancouver called Rhino. And Dan has gone on to create a company called Form Swim. And so if you're into swimming, he has smart heads-up display swimming goggles to let you know how your workout is going. And so even with those skills, the entrepreneurship innovation skills, you can go on and do many different careers with it. An example of your corporate innovator is Adrienne. She has since working with Sanctuary, she has led bringing this concept of robots into the real world, and she has gone out and found corporate partnerships and early customers who want robots, perhaps in their assembly line, perhaps in their warehouse, and packaging and distribution. So it's an example again of somebody who's thinking entrepreneurially, but working in a larger company. Vivian Wang working for SAP, again with digital transformation, cloud enablement, thinking about strategy transformation in the innovation space. And so how she consults with companies, with SAP on how to think innovatively moving forward. Of course, we've got founders, people that start their businesses either in the MBA program itself or afterwards. Chang has gone on to create Plenish, which provides on-demand furniture and accessories into your rental apartments. If you're moving into Vancouver and you're saying, where am I going to get all my furniture? He'll show up with a monthly package for you. And Peschel has gone on to create this company called Binta, which helps new immigrants into Canada with their financial scores for getting loans and whatnot. And so he's been able to take a lot of historical data from countries outside of Canada, bring them in, which then Canadian financial institutions can use. And he's on an absolute wild ride. It's great seeing the press and the success that he's getting. One of our recent graduates from just last year is Viggy. Viggy decided he wanted to create a sauce company, and off he goes. It's a ton of fun to be part of his story, and it's really interesting to see all the different types of ventures that you can make. Ryan, founder of a company in Vancouver called Clio. If you look up in the news, Clio just raised $1 billion, or almost $900 million, quite recently, to help lawyers. This is what their software does. Again, a huge champion of hiring MBAs, but another example of what MBA founders can do here in Vancouver. There's also the consideration of working in the startup space, but not for a startup. And this is incubators and accelerators. And so this is being involved in programs like Entrepreneurship at UBC or Creative Destruction Lab, where you are helping to advise and to consult startups. You're giving them the advice on what they need to do to get market traction and get moving. Jacek also joined an early stage company. This is Aspect Biosystems. This is the company I was mentioning around 3D printing of human tissue. Of course, we also promote that working as an entrepreneur gets you the necessary skills to then invest in other entrepreneurs. Jay has since gone on to join as a partner at Rhino Ventures, and Janelle also has gone on to be a partner at Pangea Ventures. And so both these individuals experienced in the entrepreneurship area and use their skill sets to join venture capital companies. And I also want to mention another area that we like to promote is entrepreneurship through acquisition or search funds. So this is where perhaps you're saying, I don't want to start something from zero. I want to buy an existing company and run it. And Ben is a great example of somebody who's gone out and bought 2 different companies now that he has under his portfolio. And he's bought existing companies and he is growing and scaling those companies. So that was just an example of some students that have come through and what they've done. And just a little bit more here, specifics on what the track is. This track, the entrepreneurship innovation track, I would say, gives you a lot of flexibility in your electives. We really only have sort of these required modules. I mean, everybody in the MBA has to take 550. But technology entrepreneurship was the class I mentioned where you get to build that startup in class. And then entrepreneurial finance, how to raise money for your entrepreneurial endeavor. Those are really the only two required classes. Everything else is a recommended elective. The reason for that is we think that entrepreneurs need the flexibility, and you might want to learn about different skill sets. And so we give you that opportunity to. Some entrepreneurs want to fine tune their marketing skills, their branding skills, perhaps some of their accounting skills. And we say, great, you have the flexibility to now go out and take a lot of those electives that exist. Out of all the electives, of course, we're going to recommend some of them that really help. I really like BAN 509. The startup venture analyst with Creative Disruption Lab. Again, that is, how do you give advice to a startup? And so you get to practice, not getting caught up in your own emotional journey because it's not your startup, it's somebody else's. So how do you give advice to somebody else's startup? Of course, I'm here to support you. If you are working on the startup over your summer internship, we meet. We work on scaling up. This is what I also do at the university. I work with about 4 or 5 other researchers and their potential startups, giving them advice on what to do, where to go, how to raise money. And if you are going to do an entrepreneurial startup over your internship, great. I'll be working with you. Of course, I'm also going to advocate joining another startup, joining that early stage company, or even find an innovation role in existing companies. So just to wrap up this entrepreneur track, I think as prospective MBAs, we've all done a really good job of learning how to learn. And so we're really quick at adopting stuff and figuring things out. And, most of us will be able to hit that quality bar, coming out of beginner and into novice. But what I want to say is if you fine tune, you really focus, you will become that expert that exists in that 99 percentile. And so I guess what I'm suggesting here is that the entrepreneurial type are the people that think differently. And that's what I want to promote. So I'll leave it there and see if we have any questions for me regarding the entrepreneur track, after which we will pause then and I'll switch over to the technology and analytics. So let's see if there are any questions.
Any questions from the attendees today? You can tap in the chat, or you can ask Fraser directly by putting your hands up. Anyone? Oh, here you go. Curry?
Hi, thank you for the explanation. My question is, so I do recognize that a lot of other MBA programs offer entrepreneurship courses and connection and network with the surrounding community. What would you say is the most special about UBC's program and what you offer?
Well, of course I'm biased.
I would like to hear that biased answer.
Of course I'm biased. I grew up in Kelowna, which is about a 4-hour drive from Vancouver, and I since did my undergrad here in Vancouver and then built up my own entrepreneurial bit here. I would say this. I'd say it's small in a sense where, if you're in New York, if you're in the Valley, if you're in London, there's bigger scenes. But why do I like to say then that it's small? Because you will get to know everybody, usually within a year or two. And so what I mean is, if you're going to the events, if you're shaking hands, if you are networking, you're going to start to see repeated faces. And what that means to me is you can build up trust and rapport. And so instead of just saying hi to somebody once, here's my business card, great, I'll email you. It's, hey, I saw you at the last event. And yes, now we've built up some of that rapport. And now you have those questions like, can you introduce me to an investor? Can you introduce me to a mentor or an advisor in this space? And now that it's your second or third time meeting that individual, it goes the distance. So I know that saying it's a small ecosystem can sound, like, oh, well, maybe there's not much opportunity, but I actually think that a small ecosystem builds up trust a whole lot quicker. I will also say an interesting thing about the Vancouver ecosystem as opposed to, let's say, the Valley. Um, there's a different sense. There's what would be called being Canadian when it comes to startups and investing. And I think a lot of Canadian investors want to see you de-risk your company prior to large investments coming in. Whereas in the Valley, I think you'll easily get some checks written in the early stage. Now, you've got the case. Is it better to be the fat startup or is it better to be the lean startup? And we could have a great debate over it. In my opinion, when investors expect to see traction, I think you are forced to be more innovative. You are forced to think about the customer and the value proposition you're offering beforehand, validate that, and then raise money. So it is a little bit, again, the fat startup versus the lean startup. And Canadian investors prefer the lean startup and they prefer to see traction. But again, I think that pressure forces you to be more innovative, forces you to listen to your customers and be empathetic with them. So yeah, a couple different reasons. I mean, great question. I'm just trying to highlight some of the differences here in Vancouver.
I appreciate your insight. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Oh, there's a question in the chat, Fraser.
Is there
No.
an outline calendar compatible UBC on the different entrepreneurial events happening? Oh, great question. One thing I can give you, one sec, I'm just going to toggle over. There isn't one calendar per se on it, but I'm going to drop a couple links into the Zoom chat for you. So this was one page that I created recently along this line. And so you can have a look at that page there. And then I think another place that does a really good job of supporting students in where you can find entrepreneurial content is entrepreneurship.ubc.ca. So there's a couple links to you, but there is no centralized events page for entrepreneurs.
Can I ask a quick question?
Please, Sharon.
Thank you. My name is Sharon. So I know this was mainly the session was reserved for full-time MBA, and I'm applying for professional MBA. So, and my whole life I've always been working for startups. So my job has mainly been on strategic growth for startups and also working with accelerator programs. My question is, the way you narrated the entrepreneurship and innovation program, are the technical approach or methods discussed or shared the same as those for MBA professionals program, or they are different?
Yeah, good question. So the professional MBA program, I teach the same class, which is BAN 550 to the full-time MBAs, and then there's a separate one for the professional MBA. So I will teach that class. Now, professional MBA students, we have a lot of them coming to tech entrepreneurship. And we've actually pushed a lot of our electives, well, not a lot. We've pushed some of our electives that we want the PMBAs to take into time slots that are preferable, so that we know that as a PMBA, perhaps you're working a 9 to 5. And so we've said, okay, these are the classes that we want. And that one class is the Creative Destruction Lab class. And we've said, okay, technology entrepreneurship as well. We want those two classes to be offered in the evening so that we can attract PMBA students into them as well. And I see that happening. We do get good enrollment from PMBAs in those classes.
Thank you. That clarifies that.
Excellent. Tina, I don't see any further questions.
Hello.
Yep. Cool.
Oh,
Hi.
hello. Hi, I can hear you. Yes.
I'm Purple. So I would like to ask about one question about the courses. Is there any courses about social media or some technology development, something like that, courses related to this area? Thank you.
Yeah, good question. Let's see. In my mind, we don't have a class specifically rated available for social media. What we have is we have classes on marketing, and so then that social media will be a component within it. And sorry, and then the purple, you mentioned the second area that you were interested in.
The technology, computer technology, like a platform or new ventures.
Yeah, so we have a couple in
Start.
there. We have data visualization, which is then around getting data out. How do you view that data? We have AI commercialization as well, which is largely focused on how we use AI from a business perspective, but you do have to get your hands dirty. You do have to do some coding in that class as well. So those are two classes where you are expected to utilize technology.
So we need to write codes.
Yes. Now we make the assumption that everybody is a beginner.
Simple codes or hard codes.
No. Simple. Like we assume that this is new to everybody coming into this space. And so we can't expect anybody to be already novice or experts. And like I said, usually we're thinking about, okay, how are we making business decisions around it? But we will introduce you to writing code to extract value.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, and that could be a good segue to then technology. So the technology and analytics leadership, I will then switch over to it. Let me share my screen. And then again, we'll break for a little bit. I'll run through my slides and we'll break for some further questions. So Hillary, I see you just popped a question in, but let me get through my slides before addressing that. So technology and analytics leadership is the other track that I support. I champion here in the MBA program. Why technology? Why analytics? Mark Anderson from A16Z, a very popular venture capital firm in the United States. This statement came out almost a decade ago that software is eating the world, right? And so meaning a lot of companies at the time were still running, let's say, paper-based, and that software was going to start to move into everywhere. And that's what we're seeing. And we're sort of seeing the data, we're seeing the information, and now we're also starting to see how AI is being used. A great book, if you are a fan of technology, as I am, The Price of Tomorrow by a local entrepreneur, Jeff Booth, here in Vancouver. Technology is a deflationary force so great, in the end, nothing we will do will stop it. I find this statement absolutely fascinating. This sort of ties into our economy as well, what Jeff was saying, that we live in an economy of debt and inflation. And it was, if inflation gets out of control and debt gets out of control, what do we do? Right? And is it the end result, some horrible scenario, or will things normalize? And Jeff writes this book and takes an argument that technology is necessary because technology is a deflationary force. So what do I mean by that? So if you look at what email did to the world, right? Before email, you had to write a letter. I had to print it out on your computer, or you had to handwrite it. You had to put a stamp on it, and you had to put it in the mail, right? The cost of doing so was you could argue $1. Right. But what his email has done is it brought the cost of a letter of sending information from $1 all the way down, let's say 0.0001 of a penny. And so it's a deflationary pressure because it allows us to do more with that $1. And I think, when we put that lens on with technologies, what can we do more with $1 because of technology? And this just gets me super excited. Can we do better marketing? Can we sell products to consumers in a more efficient process? Can we use technology and analytics to do automated building and physical labor? And this is where I think the future is going. I mean, even in the news, I pulled this up yesterday, and a lot of you might have read about this. This is absolutely phenomenal. Here you have a company like Salesforce and Workday, which are largely database style of companies in a tabular SQL database. And you have Salesforce, which just has your leads, your opportunities, and then some email workflows attached to it. And same with Workday. You've got databases of information with workflows attached to it. And here you've got Klarna, which is just an absolutely huge company, saying they're going to reduce spend in these sort of SQL data tabular types of solutions, and that they think that generative AI is going to overtake this. Now, how does Salesforce answer and respond to that? I said, they're saying we agree. We are also afraid that we might not have a future, right? And so Salesforce, a company that's just over 25 years old, built on SQL and tabular data, is sort of saying we need to readjust ourselves as well. And they are now they've doubled their initial $500 million investment into AI. And that is a result of their customers saying we no longer need to use you. And so it's an absolutely phenomenal opportunity for students who are interested in technology, data, analytics to make a change. And lo and behold, here we are in this new world of AI. I think we've seen some major transformations in our lifetime, the internet being one. I think mobile phones have been a phenomenal transformation in terms of now we can take the internet on the go. And then now what we're starting to see is AI, right? And we've all been exposed to ChatGPT and Meta and what it means to have generative text-based AI, but it's going to start to move into decision-making. And even recently with ChatGPT and OpenAI's new release yesterday or the day before, where it's going to start to get into reasoning. It's going to take time to think now instead of just spitting something out. And so a good report here from Harvard around what impacts is this going to make on their jobs, right? And we can see business, financial, operations. We can see educational institutions, management, office and admin support. A lot of these business-oriented jobs that are going to be significantly impacted by AI. And I think you need to start to think about how are you future-proofing your career. I read an interesting article the other day. It said that maybe students that are going in to learn about accounting today, their job might be obsolete in 4 years when they graduate because AI might be doing all the accounting. I mean, how scary is that to think about, right? If you are going into your degree today, and then in 4 years' time, those skills that you learn are not relevant. So what I'm saying here is that we need to learn how to use technology, how to use AI and implement it in the business areas to make sure that we are supporting the companies as well as our own career moving forward. Some of the different career outcomes here. I mean, I've got a list on the right. I'm not going to go through them of what those job titles could be. But I think the exciting thing here is if you're thinking from an innovation perspective, okay, how am I thinking of the products that I need to manage, either internally or externally, meaning maybe I'm purchasing other AI tools or other tools and bringing them in-house, and I'm responsible for the rollout, or how am I managing our own product and using technology in it? So the areas that we really want to focus on here is data, visualization, big data, ML, AI are some of the areas that we're focusing on in technology and analytics leadership. Some different students that have gone through this track, Irene, working closely with Provincial Health Services here in Vancouver to look at data and help make decisions when it comes from a health authority perspective. Viola, what she is also working on in e-commerce. And so how we're using data, again, in e-commerce for decision-making and automation. Pranita as well, working in product management for SE Health. And so thinking about how we change and how we adapt and use technology moving forward. Varun, also one of our recent graduates working at Amazon in product management, came out of the tech and analytics leadership track. Temi as well, I really enjoyed working with her. And so she has stuck with some of her engineering skills, and many of you maybe on this call, like myself, have a software background, or you've come from technology and you're thinking about how do I use an MBA. to really help me out. This is an interesting concept because what I'm saying is don't start from scratch. Don't just throw away all that technology learning that you have and software skills. But how do you use it with an MBA to move forward? And Temi's a great example of that, where she is still using her software knowledge, but also now she's looking at these in terms of financial decisions. How do we spin up cloud systems? How do we make sure that our customers are setting up the right Azure accounts at a cost-effective cycle? And then a couple internships I want to highlight here. Shreya has gone to work an internship at WorkSafe BC as a business analysis. And Nenny did an internship of one of Canada's largest banks, which is CIBC. And she was also a great candidate coming in to the university and has excelled in her role under the technology and analytics leadership track as well. Now, before the TAL track existed, I just want to highlight a couple other graduates who have gone on to work in this space. Preeth working with Motorola. He's based in Toronto now. Sad to see him leave the Vancouver area and move to Toronto, but his education here set him up to be a senior product manager. And then one of the recent successes that I saw was Kareem, also a graduate of about 10 years ago before the TAL track existed, but now is a principal product manager at Microsoft. And so some great companies that have hired very talented students. So this track, we do have just one more requirement over top of the entrepreneurship track. We've got data visualization, technology, product management, business development as well. And then some of the recommended electives that you can take. I mean, I'm highly recommending AI commercialization, almost to the point where I think it should be required. And we have a great class on fintech, working in that space as well, using data analytics in the financial industry. And then you'll see a couple other classes maybe that I mentioned as part of the innovation and entrepreneurship track still available to you as electives. I see a lot of students, even in finance and in PSM, taking technology and entrepreneurship and applied methods in technology startups at CDL. So a lot of great classes there for you as well. So what does your internship look like? Largely, it's finding an internship at one of those companies that maybe you're thinking about future career opportunities with. And we see that people joining companies and then getting offered a full-time opportunity afterwards. And then some students want to do an industry report, which Tina had mentioned earlier. So I'll stop there regarding the technology and analytics track, and I will jump back to some of the questions.
I'd like to ask a further question. So will we learn some analytic tools like Google Analytics or Python, things like that? Thank you.
Yes, you will absolutely be in Python. You will be learning about how to use that. The specific tech stack that is taught in those classes, I mean, I absolutely know Python is. The other tech stacks I'm trying to think of VMware as well, but I think those questions might be better suited for the professor of that class, given how they're setting up which tech stacks to use, but absolutely Python. I see a question from Sharon in the chat as well. How do you define the difference between technology and innovation based on how the courses are designed? And so I think the question there is the difference between the technology, the TAL track, and then the innovation entrepreneurship track, if I'm correct, Sharon. So between my two presentations.
That's correct.
Yeah, my two presentations. So I think the technology and analytics leadership has much more of a focus on, I want to be in the space of looking at data, at looking at AI, at looking at data visualization, and how do we make business decisions from that. Whereas the entrepreneurship track, you may choose to do that as an entrepreneur, but you can do virtually anything else you want to do in the entrepreneurship track. You might say, I want to create a consumer packaged good. I want to create a financial institution. I want to create a climate-based startup. And so you're not limited to which area you're thinking about. Whereas the technology and analytics leadership is, yes, you will be in data, you will be in AI. that will be the sort of the technology vertical that you'll be in.
There's a question from Hillary. Would you like to answer that?
Yeah, I'm just reading through. I'm interested in product and service management, but also see the valuation in innovation track. What would make a better recommendation? And you've got a background in service design and research. And so I think, I mean, Hillary, it's a great question. I often sit down with people and we talk through it. I mean, Hillary, one of the things I would like to get to know better is like what makes you tick, what makes you, wake up and get excited in the morning. And I always encourage people to find what that is and stick with it. So what, there's also, the backstory is there's also time in the MBA to think about that. And so if you're interested in both tracks, there is time coming into the program in September through October, and then into November where you're starting to think to yourself, okay, where do I want to dedicate myself to? And the tracks, they're there to provide support for you. We do say to students that they're there to help you sort of position yourself in your career. But I also want to say, Hillary, if you think about it from, maybe that financial outcomes important to you, is you can do a bit of a background research. I'll just put it into the Zoom chat. Using something like levels.fyi, which is a website that shows how much you'll earn. Well, maybe from a financial perspective, looking at what those different career outcomes might have in terms of dollars might be important to you. So do have a look at that as well. But yeah, I mean, tough question because it really comes down to what makes you tick. And so happy to follow up with you more. I've got my email address up on the slides. You can email me and I'll try to answer those through.
Thank you, Fraser. I appreciate it very much.
Awesome. So we're at 9 o'clock, and is there additional question here? And there's another question for you, Fraser, from Abina.
Yeah, I mean, we do support a lot of different cultural backgrounds. I think, I'm going to say that's the beauty of Vancouver, is that there's great, vibrant communities that help you to think about these different areas. In my classes, I do case studies from around the world so that we're exploring these things. When we do technology entrepreneurship, we say, get out, talk to your customers. And so wherever your customers might be, whether they're in the Vancouver ecosystem or abroad, I mean, we support you in reaching out, having those conversations and thinking about those different landscapes. So absolutely. We've seen different people in the entrepreneurship space sort of tackle different ecosystems.
Good evening. I'm Sam from India. I'm currently doing my diploma in AI with DS, data science. So my question is, you're saying that there are some basic coding for AI to manipulate the model, but I don't know how that would help in business perspective. And I don't know how you would be implementing these kind of algorithms in the business world. So this is my question.
Yeah, I mean, a very basic, decision-making tool could be looking at two different customer segments and their purchasing trends. If you are in e-commerce, you're going to be looking at customer acquisition costs across a lot of different strategies. And then, so how are you just drumming up the data and either looking at the data or asking the data sort of for some reflections on potential predictions? So just a couple quick examples of how you can use it. One of our interns there who went on to work in the health services, I mean, they're largely looking at what is happening in health in the population here in British Columbia, and then what decisions around vaccinations, what decisions around ER wait times, how to relieve stress on hospital visits, largely using data to try to get answers to those decisions, right? Now, wouldn't it be great if we had a tool that just had the magic wand and could say, yes, spend more money here and spend more money there? Unfortunately, there's a lot of ambiguity in the data as well. And so this is what we're trying to teach, is how do we make better decisions given that data?
So we're going to wrap up here. Thanks so much for Fraser's sessions today. Hopefully you learned a lot about those 2 tracks and excited to join us next year. And if you have any questions about our missions and programs, please reach out to me and Patricia. And then thank you again for taking your time to join the session with us today. So we have 2 sessions coming up tomorrow and next week. And next week is a product service management session with Tim Silk. And tomorrow's with Mary Cohen from our Business Career Center on your career journey, that potentially you will get all the postings and insights from Mary tomorrow. So if you're interested, please join us tomorrow. Thank you so much. And thank you so much to Fraser, Patricia, and Maya as well. Have a great day or have a good evening to you.
Thanks for joining.